Cancer is the uncontrollable growth of an abnormal cell in a body. And on June 6, 2005, my life changed forever. That was the day, on that day I knew that something changed. Something dramatic was about to happen. When my grandmother and I were coming back from the hospital to visit our great-grandmother, we had a call from my sister who was with my grandfather and saying he was acting funny. She called and said he was delusional, delirious, and not knowing where he was at. She finally guided him to the Fort Campbell Hospital, which is in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. My grandmother and I quickly drove back from our hometown of Dover to Fort Campbell, which is an hour drive. We made it in 45. We got to the hospital, and they told us that he had a severe seizure in his brain, and he could not focus upon anything that happened. They life-flighted him that day to Vanderbilt. The brain surgeon looked at my grandfather's x-rays and CAT scans and found that a very large size brain tumor was in his brain. We continued to have surgery upon us. We decided to have surgery after the doctor told us. Following the surgery, we were in Vanderbilt for months. The first time we were there for weeks, and the second we kept on going back and back because he was not getting better. About 2 years later, my grandfather had another seizure on my birthday, February 13th, 2007. I was actually at my high school basketball game in the pep band, practicing and playing for the basketball teams. I get a phone call from my grandmother saying that my grandfather has had this and he's being life-flighted immediately to Vanderbilt. So they come and pick me up from the game, and I'm traveling back down to Vanderbilt with him again for about the seventh or eighth time this year. We get there, and the doctor has found more cancer in his brain, his lungs, his bones, his bone marrow. The cancer has spread throughout his whole body. After being through a couple more surgeries after we found out the cancer has spread, he finally went into remission. During the time of remission, we called in hospice in December of 2007, and they stepped in and helped take care of him. From December to March, we continued to have hospice. The nurses came daily to make sure his vitals and everything was taken care of. Again, on February 13th of 2008, my grandfather told me that I was, quote, I was the last man in the family, and I need to take care of the family. After that night, my grandfather went into a coma, and he did not get out of it he did not wake back up until after he passed away. March 8th, 2008 was one of the worst days of my life. Just like every morning, I would wake up, go in the shower, brush my teeth, and go out, and I would say hi to my grandfather and go get ready for school. On this day, I got out of the shower, walked to his bed, and I could tell something was wrong. He was breathing slowly, his face was discolorating, and he wasn't breathing the same. Come to find out that night, the RN came, and he was having seizures and out of control vital signs. Well, this is the time. 7:09, March 8th, my grandfather passed away. I was the only one in the room when it happened, and it was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to deal with. Sitting at the funeral was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Watching my grandfather I loved so much being hoisted down into a casket into the ground, knew that it was the final mark of his life. I laid him to rest March 8, 2008, and he still raises me up to this day. The song "He Raised Me Up" by Josh Groban was playing in the background while we were in the funeral. My grandfather has always raised me up, and he also raised me. He is one of the most important men in my life, and I continue to live every day through him. Thank you guys. Have a great day.